Hello my friend, I hope that you're well. So, after arrays, it's now time to learn about another data structure in JavaScript, which is object. So up until this point, we have been using arrays as a data structure to basically store multiple related values in the same variable. So let's just quickly recap that. So I will just create a simple Faisal array here, const Faisal array equal. It's simple array. Okay, and you don't need to write this code, okay? I'm really just trying to recap here. So we have the first name, for example, Faisal, and also the last name, it is Azib. Okay, and I'm writing this in multiple lines. And that is perfectly acceptable. So sometimes that's easier to give us an overview of a data structure. As long as you remember the comma here, after each of the element, we are gonna be fine. So then we have kind of, for example, of age calculation. So like this. Okay. Then I can add also, for example, before this I will just put them again in new line because the formatter do it automatically in one line. So now I can add, for example, job name, developer, and also I can add the developer. The friend list, for example, here directly, let's say Karim, Reda, and what can I add it for Azdin, for example. Okay. Of course, we have an array inside array. We have seen that, I think. Good. So again, it is basically a data structure which combines multiple values which all belong to this Faisal entity. Now we know intuitively that this first element here of the array should be called the first name. And this one is the last name. This one could be called age. This one could be called job. And this one could be called the friends. But in arrays, there is no way of giving this element a name. And so we can't reference them by name, but only by their order number in which they appear in the array. And so, to solve that problem, we have another data structure in JavaScript, which is object. So in object, we actually define k value pairs. And so, then we can give each of these value here a name. So let's see how. So again, we are defining a variable. And so I am calling this one Faisal now. Okay. And then this is, I added now, I forgot the curly braces. Forgot the brackets, sorry, or curly braces. And this is the actual object. So now instead of the square brackets that we use for array, we use the curly brackets or curly braces. So this is the second time we are seeing the curly braces. First, we saw them to define a code block. For example, I think in if-else statement, or in if switch statement, or even to define a function body, remember. But this is different here, okay? So these curly braces here are to define a new object. And so let's now fill up this object with k value pairs. So the k is basically the variable name. So let's say first name, okay, and then we write colon, okay, and then we write our value, Faisal. Good. And the value can be of any type that we want here. Then to define another k value pair, we just separate them with a comma, okay, just like in the array. Now I continue, last name, colon, and here Azib. Good. Okay, then age, colon, and once more, here we can put in the expression here. So 1021 minus, okay. So this will be calculated and then will be assigned to the age. I continue. So we have also the job. It is developer. And also I have friends. I just copy previous array. Do not write it again. I put it here. Good. And so with this we have now an object which contains 5k value pairs. So again, these are the 5k's and then each k has a value. And so essentially with this we are able to assign a name to each of these values that we had. So that's something that's what's impossible in arrays, but now it is possible. Now each of these k's is called a property. I repeat, each of these k's, first name, last name, is called property. So we say that this is object here. So this object, which is called Faisal, has 5 properties. So property first name with the value of Faisal, property last name with the value of Azib, and so on and so forth. Now objects are probably the most fundamental concept in the whole of the JavaScript language. So there are many ways of creating objects, and simply writing an object in the code like this is probably the simplest way of creating an object. So here with the curly braces, so there are multiple ways of creating an object, but again, using the curly braces like this is the easiest one, and it is called the object literal syntax, because we are literally writing down the entire object content. So to recap, just like arrays, we use object to essentially group together different variables that really belong together, such as the properties of Faisal that we have been working with. Now, the big difference between object and arrays is that in object, the order of this value does not matter. I repeat, the order of these values does not matter at all when we want to retrieve them. And that's important to keep in mind. So in arrays, the order in which we specify the element matters a lot, because that's how we access this element, right? So we can only access array element using their order number. This means that we should use arrays for more ordered data and object for more unstructured data. This means, I repeat, we should use arrays for more ordered data and object for more unstructured data, and data that we actually want to name and then retrieve from the object based on that name. But how do we actually do that? So how do we get data from an object? And that's exactly what we will see inshallah in the next video. So stay with us, try to understand very well what is object before to continue. I see you in the next video inshallah. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel Faisal Azib and teams.winners on Telegram and Instagram, and subscribe to my channel Faisal Azib in YouTube, of course. Take care of us. I tell you goodbye. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.